Welcome to Casa de Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Welcome back to a little place we like calling Casa de Confidence. My name's Dan.
And this is Julie.
You are Julie. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I had a great date night last night.
You went on a date?
Yeah, with you.
Of course.
And you even dressed up for it. So excited.
I did. Bow tie.
Coat,
full coat.
Dress
affair.
Shoes, dress socks.
You had a stunning dress.
It was a stunning gown.
Loved
and
it.
You know what I'm going to share with the audience, because why the heck not?
Why the heck not?
So I happen to have several cocktail and formal black tie dresses, but I didn't know what I was going to wear. And again, I've been to this event almost every year. This is the Connecticut Children's Hospital Gala event that my friend Bree Feltzer is in charge of putting together. And by the way, she does a phenomenal job. She is a rock star planner, and they raised over $1.5 million for the event. And I think that that's not even the final number, because we left a little bit before they ended.
Yeah, that was when we had left. So because I ran out of head of steam.
Dan was running out of steam, and I felt bad. I didn't want him to fall asleep at the table.
And the bids and donations at that point were in the $50,000 to $100,000 range.
There were people. So in the last part of the auction, they say, okay, we need someone to match a $122,000 donation. And basically 5 people raised their hands.
I thought it was 6.
Well, yes, it's 5 people raised their hands, and then the original. And then they asked for a $50,000 donations, and there were 2 people in the audience who did that.
Yeah, and they were raising money for a new department.
A new wing where they will be able to do bone marrow transplant rather than the patients going to Boston. And one of the patients that actually spoke, and I thought that this was very interesting. There's no accidents in this world, Anne. One of the patients, a young man who had myelodysplastic anemia, and he had a bone marrow transplant. And yesterday would have been my dad's 90th birthday. And my dad passed away from myelodysplastic anemia. So I just think that there are no accidents, that we were there, and we weren't going to go to the event, and we ended up going, thankfully, and graciously, thanks to Bree. But it just reminded me that, my dad was not a candidate for having a transplant, a bone marrow transplant. But he was so keen and overjoyed that there were so many different people that were going to benefit from the many medical wonders that we have in this world. And I was able to see that 10 years after he's passed, there's a lot of strides that have been made. And it was so beautiful to see that we have the resources to give back life to those who are suffering from that. Anyway, you look very dapper. And
I did.
You owe me a couple dances, because the dance floor was going to open, but we left before that. But it was 11 o'clock almost when we left. So
right.
It had been a long day. But back to what I was going to say about the dress.
All right.
So we went shopping, and I went to do some sustainability shopping. And I got myself new with tags black tie dress that fit as if it were made for me. And I paid less than $20 for it.
Yeah. It was amazing.
I was rocking the dress. Yeah. It was pretty cool. So very excited to do that. And then you definitely looked very, very handsome, Dan.
Well, thank you very much. I clean up.
I was reminded you're incredibly just very handsome when you
really.
Listen, you look handsome.
Don't pile the compliments on too hard.
I'm not piling. I'm just telling you. You need to take a compliment, but. Oh my gosh, if you dressed up like that every day, you would not go anywhere because I couldn't keep my hands off of you, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, very fun episode today that we have in store, by the way.
Yes. Ande Lyons.
Mm-hmm. Ande Lyons is our friend in real life, and she is the host of the podcast, Don't Be Caged by Your Age. And by the way, I'm going to tell you, Dan, do not be caged by your age.
Okay, well.
You should be able to go and dance and not, have this preconceived notion that after you hit a certain age, you can't do things.
Well, I feel kind of old this morning, but.
Okay. Well, one of the things that this episode with Ande it's going to bring to light is that we have a lot of stereotypical things when it comes to aging. And a lot of these stereotypes are things that are a form of discrimination for people. And we want to go ahead and bring attention to it. And Ande said it best. And there's a quote that I love. And she says, aging out loud is proud and liberating, but it's not easy the first few times you do it. She also said that ageism is a prejudice against your future self. So every time you say something ageist, you're slamming your future self because you're going to get there someday.
You mean you're kind of talking about your future self?
Yes, your future self. And, this is the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that we really can decide what our future self is going to be like if we decide to make the choices today. So today, Julie at 54 is living the choices that Julie maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years made. So if I want to have a vivacious, engaging life, if I want to continue to feel good, it's going to be really important to make the right choices today.
It's true.
So anyhow, I think that that's going to be one of the most important things that we keep in mind. And I really, really loved having my conversation with Ande when I spoke to her this past week.
Well, I can't wait for this interview.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to. And actually, it's a good, meaty interview, too.
It is a meaty interview.
It's a full hour.
Well, we talked about a lot of different things. And, one of the things that, of course, Ande and I discuss is the upcoming historic election that is going to come up, that is coming up this upcoming Tuesday.
Oh, you did talk about it.
We did talk about it.
So, yes, I know what I'm going to be in the future.
What are you going to be in the future?
Well, in 2 days in the future, I'm going to be a voter.
2 days in the future, you're going to be a voter.
I'm going to be voting. So today is Sunday. On Tuesday, that's, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, your job on Tuesday is to go and vote.
Yes. And
so, just saying.
I want you to also
And I know I'm dating the episode.
You are dating the episode, but one of the things that I feel that there are so many things that I want to encourage the listeners is that don't leave anything blank in your ballots. There's so many different things that are at stake right now, and every single vote counts. And when it comes to making a difference, don't stop at just the major tickets. Go in and look at your local issues because this impacts you. It impacts the lives of people you love. And it impacts what the future self, you, others, or even your community is going to be like. So make sure that, if you go to vote.org/ballot-information, you can get information on most of the different issues that are at stake. But as a woman, I am very, very proud that we have an incredible candidate that represents my beliefs, that represents what I believe is right, democracy, and is standing up to so many people that are racist, so many people that are. Anyway, I know I'm going to get too excited and you're going to be like, oh my God. So I guess I better stop because, I don't want to be censored.
You're not going to get censored.
I'm not going to get censored, Daniel?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, I mean, I could keep going all the different issues, but I don't want to unpack them. I just think that, we have to talk about the things that are going on. And there's so many different issues that people don't realize. One of the things that I know that is a big issue for individuals is the right to life issue. And I do want to say that I read a story this week. And when I was in high school and I was very involved in my church youth group, I was definitely, pro-life, but I do believe in the right to a woman to have a choice. And the reality is that I believe that because when we give choices to women and we give education and we give health services, you will find the abortion numbers actually go down. When we are providing health care for women, you will see that there is so much more that we can have in this world, but we reduce things to just being a black and white issue, and it really isn't. There was a young woman in Texas, and I found that about her this past week. It's an article that was, I guess, in Politico, and she was 18. She was pregnant. She was getting married. And unfortunately, she passed. She passed because she was not able to get the care when her body went into sepsis. And I think that this woman had a lot of promise. She was 18. She had a baby that she loved. And again, her whole family now is grieving not only her, but the baby and the life that could have been, because the doctors in Texas did not provide her with the care when her body was into sepsis in the emergency room, and she was turned back out of the emergency room. And this is something that I don't want to see in our futures. I don't want to see people continuing to die needlessly because they're not getting the doctors giving them the care that they need because the doctors are so afraid of going into prison. So before we end on Tuesday, I'm going to continue to do everything I can to be able to talk about what I believe and speak to other individuals, not just in the pro-life or pro-choice conversation, but in all the other conversations that matter. I know that history has a way of repeating itself, mostly when people are not aware of history. So I encourage you that if you're anything that you don't understand, feel free to talk about it. I want to tell you that also, as someone that is from Puerto Rican descent, my dad's family is Puerto Rican, in addition to having other backgrounds. But the fact that we are in a society that allows individuals to think of a group of people as garbage is unacceptable to me. And that's not presidential. It's not what people should be cheering, right? So no matter what your belief system is, I really want to encourage you that go out, vote, but do the research, educate yourself, because that is a gift that you give not only to yourself, but to your community and to those that you love. Now, back to Ande, because I think it's incredibly important. We love the work that she's doing as the New England's podcasters organizer. And she is a big fan of women and business owners. She has been an entrepreneur for so many years. And we talked about how being an entrepreneur is the best education you can ever get. You're going to hear a lot of inspiring things from Ande's journey, from conquering ageism to starting and being a startup founder for many years. And also, you will find that overall, our age enhances our capabilities. So don't be conforming to just what society says that you're put out to pasture. go and try new things. Go and expand yourself and say, I can, I will, and I do. So this is a great episode for that. And I'm so thrilled and grateful to Ande for being here and being a good friend of the show. I could have talked to her for hours, Daniel.
I know you could have. You have spoken to her for hours. So we've gotten we've gotten to meet Ande several times. So going up to Massachusetts to the New England podcasters group, right? So Ande is incredible.
Yeah, she is. And again, she's done some incredible work. We talked about some wonderful authors and books, Seth Godin, Your Ink Story, Don't Be Caged by Your Age. Of course, that it's her podcast. And if you haven't checked out her show, I encourage you to go and listen to it. You're going to love the resources and the many amazing individuals that are her guests. And again, I am so honored that Ande took the time to hang out with me and to talk more about how to not be caged by your age and create an impact in this world as a phenomenal, magical woman that you can be. And if you're a cool dude, you're in there too.
All right. Check out her links in the show notes. And don't forget to give Julie some likes and shares. Go check out Ande. All right. I hope you enjoy this interview with Ande and Julie.
It is a great day at Casa de Confidence today, my friends. And you know why? Because anytime that I have a friend in real life come and join me, it's amazing because I've gotten to hug this person. And the more that I get to know her, the more that I learn about what she does and get to admire her work and her relationships and the good content she's putting out into the world, the more that I feel incredibly blessed that I can learn and really collaborate with someone of her caliber. I want to tell you that her podcast, Don't Be Caged by Your Age, is on my regular rotation. The main reason is because I know that Ande Lyons is bringing guests that are always going to be super educational. They're going to be individuals that help me understand navigating this new way of life and also to be a resource and connect others to her. We have an epidemic, and I think that, Ande we'll talk about this. We have an epidemic that we don't really even talk about. We have the ability to be able to be more informed, to make better choices, and to live our life more confidently by having the information that will help us navigate the different ins and outs of our life. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the wonderful and phenomenal Ande Lyons, which is a 4-time founder, a former global startup mentor, and currently, again, the host of the popular Don't Be Caged by Your Age. So let's welcome her. Hi, Ande.
Oh, Julie, what a delicious opening. Thank you so much for having me today. And I've got my clappers out, everyone, so we can clap.
Love the clappers. I love the clappers. If you, Ande is also the amazing organizer of the New England Podcasters Group. So this is how I've gotten to hug her in person. She is just a connector, by the way, my friends. And I love connectors. Now, during each of our meetings, she brings these little clappers so that we can cheer each other on. And as a Tiny Habits coach, you know that celebration is my jam. And you know that we must celebrate. And if we don't do it, then who will, right? So we got to do it for ourselves. We got to do it for others and spread the positivity. So how did you get started with clappers? What made you think that we needed to have clappers? And did you use them in other places as well?
Such a great question. So my response to COVID, being an extrovert and needing my batteries juiced up, right? I have been live streaming since 2012. So when COVID happened, I said, why don't I interview diverse founders from around the world live across LinkedIn, the time Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube? So twice a week, I would go live interviewing these smarty pants founders. I mean, always had to up my game, but I'm an edutainer. So I want to educate, right? And I was mentoring, quote, from the stage with these founders, but I needed to entertain as well. And so I bring up the clappers because, look, I was alone in my office. They were alone in their office. I knew a crowd was watching. So I had to go.
Right.
And I bring out the ka-ching button and I would do all these, fun things. But that's where I got really started on clappers. But as a group, we gather as a group and there's the polite clap. Yay.
Yeah.
But when you have clappers and everybody claps, it's like 100 people are clapping for that person.
That's so fun.
And it just tickles me too when I look around the room and everybody's clap with the clappers, and it just it's funny and joyful and delicious.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that it increases the energy and it helps people to connect, right? Because nobody feels sort of like I'm clapping louder than you. And by the way, I know that we're starting with this easy question on clapping, but really you've been connecting and doing a lot of work with mentoring people and helping accelerators of entrepreneurs. I love that you've been doing this for so long because I can learn from it. Now, tell us more about that journey because, I could never do justice to describing where you've been and what you've been doing.
Oh, thank you so much, Julie. Well, I just to close up with the clappers, folks, I love to bring playfulness to whatever it is that we do. It just lightens everybody up so that we get rid of our veneer of I'm a professional or I don't want to know you that much. It increases intimacy, right? And then we have a deeper level of trust and we can have a deeper conversation. Now, I'm not saying everyone's into that, which is why I branded myself in 2014 as Ande Lyons. And it was because someone on Twitter, some feed I was in said, you know what, you're not just Ande, you're Ande Lyons. And I went ding, 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 ding. And my husband, who's a very serious professional in a very deep, highly technical world, was like, really? And I was like, honey, you're not my ideal audience. You're my ideal husband.
That's right. That's right. I have one of those.
But so made it very easy for me to quickly filter out people. And that's what branding is all about, filtering out people who are not a fit for you. And it just delights me, as the clappers do, that people will come swinging by and leave a comment, Ande Lyons, and I got to get me some Ande Lyons. And so that really helped. But here's how I became a mentor. And it just always feels good to give back when you're helping the world, in a better place and get to a better place. It always feels good. And it dissolves or at least dilutes perhaps some of the problems that we are all facing as humans on our journey. And it lightens the load a little when you can help lighten someone else's load. And I was online early, 2010, jamming. And I had a business back then called Bring Back Desire. And it was a wonderful, what was like one of my 4 primary businesses I've had. I've had a .com that I helped raise, $8 million for. And I had a food manufacturing business that I scaled nationally in less than 2 years.
Amazing.
But Bring Back Desire was really about helping couples stay tuned in and turned on year after year, because intimacy is important in long-term relationships as well. So I have to tell you, listeners, I laughed a lot.
I bet.
A lot of tongue in cheek, really fun stuff. But I wrapped that up in early 2014 because I was so tired of the horrible advice being given online for building a business. It was like network marketing type of advice. And it wasn't about proving your minimum viable product. What is your value proposition? What is the problem that you are solving that people want to pay for? It's not about your shiny new object. It is the problem. And then nobody was talking about, well, what is my launchable target audience? Who am I really going after? How much money am I going to need? How am I going to acquire talent? What's my LTV CAC ratio? I have a really funny video on this because everybody's like, LT what? There's so many acronyms in the startup industry. And so I said, I've got to start talking about this and mentoring. And I started interviewing people about their businesses and then, live stream as well as podcasting. And then in early 2016, I became a mentor at Entrepreneurship for All, based out of Lowell, and a wonderful organization that's spreading around the country that helps folks who have never even considered launching a business, or those that have, but really didn't know what they were doing. And helping them identify, once again, their minimum viable product, who their audience is going to be, how much money are they going to need, et cetera. And then I started mentoring at Mass Challenge, which is global. And then MIT picked me up for mentoring, HALT, International School of Business, other organizations in Europe and South America and Central America. So, became global.
Amazing.
And so then I also became a co-host in 2018 of a really popular monthly pitch event here in Boston called Founders Live. And we'd have 5 founders pitch their value proposition, their business in 99 seconds and to an audience. And people like, 99 seconds, I can't. Oh, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Solving cancer. You can do it in 99 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd coach them on their slide presentation for each month.
Nice.
And we'd have investors as a panel and maybe some experts as well. And so they would have an additional 4 minutes from the audience questions and then 4 minutes from the investors. So it really was a good 10-minute total.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. And I did that.
Sounds like it.
And so, mentoring founders, the founder journey is not for everyone. And I always tell folks, Julie, when you launch a business, no matter what happens, you will win.
Yeah.
And here's why. You are going to go through the best personal and professional development program out there. You're going to tap into parts of yourself that you never knew. You're going to up your game as an individual and as a professional. And you're going to come out of it and you're going to say, all right, I love this. So when this fails, because businesses fail, that's just part of it. Just like, you tried the first pancake you put on the griddle,
right?
It's usually a failure. So what happens is you're going to understand, wow, I like this. I learned a lot. I'm going to do this better with my next business.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs always have something in the back burner too. Or you're going to say, oh, hell no, this was awful.
This is not for me.
And so then you're going to go back into your employee position, but you're going to get paid more. You're going to be able to do more. You're going to bring entrepreneurship to your role. You're going to have a completely different experience. So you always win when you launch a business.
Always a win-win. I remember in my late 20s and when I turned 30, I was recruited by a national educational company. And this is where I grew up as an executive in the business world. And one of the things that this company does very well, and I am incredibly grateful for them. I had worked retail to put myself through school. I also had a background in education, but this company it's a franchise company, but they had company stores. And I was the director of one of the company's centers for tutoring. And although I had the backing of the company, the system, the one thing that I really loved is that I could sort of be the entrepreneur. I could decide how I was going to locally market my center. I could decide how I reached out to my clients, continue to build the relationships in the community. And I loved so much of it. Now, as I continued I got my first promotion. I went into the corporate office. Then I started to travel. Eventually, I reported to both founders. And I learned so much from them because they were husband and wife, total opposites, but really congruent with doing things. And not that they agreed all the time, but they had a common vision and a common why. And they were really centered in making a difference in the lives of the students that they served. I learned a lot from them. And it stayed with me. And by the way, yes, there's a lot of business lessons I learned because all of us had to spend time in the marketing department, in the communications, and the this and the that.
But it was the ideal boot camp for you,
It was
Julie.
a boot camp in which I could say, hey, what about this? And it's been such great education. Now, I will tell you, being an entrepreneur is something I've always wanted to do. I've always had a little side hustle, but it is probably the hardest, most rewarding things that I've done.
And also now look how you help others, Julie, so well. You get through the journey, and anybody launching a business or who is in a business, the best investment you can make in yourself is having an executive coach, a business coach, because you cannot see what you can't see.
Yeah,
and it's not like they're going to be some guru telling you exactly what to do. No, they're going to put a spotlight on you and pull out of you. And what I learned over the years was if just someone gave me a chance to sort of talk out a problem, and having to being able to bounce that off of someone else, I solved it. And this is the number one core ingredient that I've learned from interviewing and mentoring hundreds of entrepreneurs. They are fierce problem solvers. Sorry.
Yeah.
They are fierce problem
absolutely.
solvers.
Yeah, I think that this is the one thing that the world is typically saying, hey, go to the guru, find the answer. Somebody else is going to tell you. But I know that the things that I've been able to accomplish have come from the grit of me figuring it out.
Right. There's no blueprint to everybody.
Given me more confidence because you can tell me how to do something, Andy, and I would say, Andy, that's great. Let me figure it out, or let me implement that. But I'm not Ande Lyons. I'm not going to implement it like Andy. I don't have the same resources that she has, so it's going to look different. I still have to personalize it, and many entrepreneurs really struggle because they want to be a carbon copy of somebody else.
Well, or they're going to say, why bother? Because it's already been done before.
Been done, yes.
And I say, please walk down the bread aisle. You're going to come across so many different brands, and they're all sitting there on the shelf and they're moving. They're moving. That inventory is moving. You have a lane. And my favorite quote is from Seth Godin, who says, sure, it's been done before, but not by you. And not for us.
Yeah, I love Seth Godin. He's one of my favorite. I have to tell you, you talked about the bread aisle, and I had this picture. I am the person. First of all, moving to Connecticut from New York City, I hate grocery stores. If they're big, not for me. Unless it's Costco, I can hang in there. But I have to go to the grocery store. I go in, I go out. I love Trader Joe's because it's manageable. But when I go to the big grocery stores, I sit in those aisles and I'm thinking, is this the bread I want? Well, wait a minute. What about this one? Is this one have preservatives? No, but this, I sit there forever. But I think that that's exactly what makes someone, especially in if you're looking for a mentor, trying out different things, looking at who is the right fit, and you will have different options. And it's very important to know that it's okay to have different options.
Absolutely. Kick the tires. If you don't lose money, you get deeper clarity in what you want and what you don't want. And make that investment, because I know for so many, it's a skinny shoestring budget you're working with. Somehow find it, keep the side hustle going. I mean, maybe the business needs to be a side hustle for a while, whatever you can do, but make sure you have someone on the journey with you, because especially just shifting the first time from the employee mindset to the owner mindset, that takes time.
It does. And I think that, for many of us who have been in this journey, there's new levels and new devils, right? So you're not going to always have it together, but you keep learning, you keep experimenting. And this is what makes the journey fun. If you have that mentality of the scientist that is trying something new and it's curious and you make play part of it, I think that, for the people that take it too seriously, and I could be a serious person, but sometimes we just take ourselves too seriously and don't give ourselves permission to fail or permission to have fun in the process, and maybe laugh at ourselves and say, oh my gosh, that was dumb, Julie. Let's try it again.
This is not baking, folks, where you have to have exact measurements.
That's right.
This is stir fry.
This is stir fry. I love that. I noticed one of your titles, and I want you to tell me a little bit more about that. One of the things that you list yourself as is a pro-aging advocate. And you say, I am 68 proudly, which inspires me tremendously, because for me, I came to a point when I was getting ready to turn 50. I loved the fact that I was turning 50, and yet there was a little bit of apprehension, because I saw that when my mom turned 50, she was laid off. And I remember her saying, no one's going to want to hire me now. Who wants me? They want someone younger. And I knew that I wanted to redefine what age was for me. Now, funny enough, because the universe has a little bit of a sense of humor, I got laid off at 52. And then it was like, Julie, put your money where your mouth is. Are you really not going to be defined by your age? And that's when I launched my business. But for people who are listening to us talk about age, I know there's women who are going to be like, why are you telling people how old you are? And what is a pro-aging advocate? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, aging out loud and proud is liberating, but it's not easy the first few times you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And how this all came about, Julie, was of course, gendered ageism. Women are told, you're aging. You best be stopping that. You do not want to look old. No one's going to take you seriously. No one's going to like you. All of those messages we see every day. It's anti-aging. It's awful. Now, I was in the startup ecosystem. It's very youth-centered. And sure, everybody under 30 couldn't get enough of me and I could be their grandmother. They just thought I was the best person in the room, wanted to sit beside me at the weddings, all the things. That's nice. But still, I would hear people say, well, describe your business model as if you were telling your grandmother about it. Never grandfather, by the way, grandmother. And I would be there going, fuming, saying, look, we've been coding and building tech companies since the 70s. There's an acronym for shut the you-know-what and sit down. And so I finally got tired of that. And then I finally realized I cannot be caged by my age. So when I turned 66 in August of 2022, I bought the U.S. Route 66 sign off Amazon, held it up in front of myself. And I wrote a post on LinkedIn called Don't Be Caged by Your Age. And now the photo of me I honestly look like, will you still love me now that you know I'm this old? That's how scary it was to come out with my age because of you have no value anymore. We're not just youth-centered culture, but we're a disposable culture. We want the new. We don't want the old, unless it's artwork and antiques. And so I started the conversation off saying, when I turned 50, and I knew that a lot of people, even in person, when they see me in my wrinkles and brown spots and barnacles, they all thought I was in my 50s. And I started off saying, when I turned 50, I thought, whoop, that's it for my entrepreneurship days. I'm going to have to hang up the tiara. And, this is a young person's game. Fast forward 16 years, I've had 2 additional businesses.
Wow.
Since that, I had that thought when I turned 50. And then I went on to talk about ageism in tech, which is horrible, and all the things. And talking a little bit more about the pro-age movement. Well, it went viral, this post on LinkedIn, and the comments. I learned so much. People who were frightened, people who had reinvented and repurposed their decades of lived experience, who were, oh, heck no, I'm not stopping. Yeah. And I even had to check my own bias when a 92-year-old said, oh, I'm on my 5th business. And I'm thinking, what are you doing on LinkedIn at 95, 92? Right? Andy, stop it. And so that's what started percolating. And as we say in the startup ecosystem, it's a good founder market fit for me. And so I knew that I wanted to start diving into this arena. And so I left the startup ecosystem in June of 2023. I did a little passion podcast because I've been podcasting since 2012. And as I said, live streaming, and I love it. Something fierce. And I said, I am just going to focus on the podcast industry. That's where I'm going. I did a 30-episode passion project called Your Ink Story, where I interviewed people about their tattoos. Because I
love it.
I was looking for, what unifies us. And when anybody starts talking about their body art, their ink, you just like, oh my gosh, it's just such beautiful stories. But
very cool.
In March, I launched Don't Be Caged by Your Age because I wanted to start having conversations with folks who are shattering age-related expectations and stereotypes and provide resources, inspiration, ideas. What can you be doing so you can thrive after 65? And so my guests, I card my guests. They have to be over, I prefer 65 plus. I do have a few in their early 60s, but I want that representation. And because pro-aging is understanding that we want to stay connected, we want to stay visible, that ageism is a prejudice against your future self. So every time you say something that's ageist, you're slamming your future self because you're going to be here someday. And you still want to
Absolutely.
have value. You still want to be in your ikigai. You
Mhm.
want to
Oh, I
have
love
your
it.
your profession, your vocation, your mission, and your purpose
Mhm.
all jumbled up there in the middle. And how do people get there? And so I've talked to a person who is 72 and just got her Guinness Book of World Records as the oldest female ninja athlete.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, my body in its 20s would never have wanted to do what she did. And she didn't do her first pull up until she was 64.
Oh, there's
And it
hope
took
for
her a whole
me.
year.
There's hope for me.
So, I talked to the one-eyed, can barely walk, person has a phenomenal, thriving business, and it's a resume business helping folks gamify the system. So when it
Oh.
scans your resume and you're over 60, it's not going to go and say, oh, toss this person out because they're
Right.
permafrost.
Mm.
And by the way, I had to check my bias yet again. She goes, Andy, I'm a gamer. I go, what, bridge? Mahjong? She goes, no, I've been shooting zombies
Oh my God,
since
I
we
love
used
that.
mainframes and had to use punch cards.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, check the bias. And I think that it's so easy in our society to think of that. My ex-husband's mom, who I talk about her in my book. She's one of the people that I talk about because she was a great influence in my life. Um, she helped me in so many ways redefine also age. Like people would look at her as like, oh, why is she doing that? She can't wear that. And it's like, who says? Who says I can't wear a mini skirt with go-go boots, right? And by the way, she rocked it. So I think that we need to really, in my brain, some people don't want to wear a mini skirt and go-go boots, and that's fine. But we put people
Julie,
in these categories. We put people in these boxes and expect them to follow our manual.
well, and here's what was really revealing when I interviewed Charlotte Livingston, who her whole life had wanted to be a model. Now, she's not some tall, willowy person at the age of 65, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's a regular gal. I mean, really regular gal with a sense of style. Well, she went to modeling school, learned how to do it, learned how to pull all these clothes together in a way that she loved doing when she was in her teens.
Nice.
She got hired, picked up by a bona fide modeling agency. She goes to these red carpet
Amazing.
events. She's doing all these things and she's having a blast. And she's got the dimpled crepe skin. She's got, all
Yep.
but it doesn't matter. And she is beloved. Everybody is craving it. And you see this in
Yeah.
Europe too. Europe is much more honoring of having a woman over 60s with her wrinkles and brown spots on the cover of Vogue, for example.
Yeah.
So celebrating aging, but also in the corporate environment. This is going to be the hardest challenge that we have. And it really is going to have to go to the courts. AARP Foundation with legal firms are suing places like Raytheon, who we only want the young engineers.
Oh, 100%.
What I've learned from the social gerontologists is that you have to have the young brains and the old brains working together to be productive and profitable.
I totally agree. I think that, there's so many reasons. And I look back at my corporate career, the teams that were the most successful that I gathered were individuals of different backgrounds, different views, perspective, ages, because you can leverage someone's experience and wisdom, but then incorporate with new ideas. I think that sometimes individuals really stifle the potential when you say, but it's never been done that way. Or they stifle their potential when they think, oh, well, who's going to want my knowledge? Everybody's doing it differently. But sometimes if it works, why shift, right? So there's got to be that balance in between all of it.
Absolutely, because I am always saying just because the clock strikes midnight on a milestone age doesn't mean you're ready to head out to the pastures. And by the way, pastures are for horses, not humans. Humans need to be on purpose. They need a reason to get out of bed. And hello, ambition is ageless. Desire to achieve is
Mhm.
ageless.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was thinking about this as we were getting ready yesterday. My husband and I were doing a little business meeting, and we have a new client coming on board. And she said, I never expected that I would be doing something new after I retired. And as I was thinking about this later on, I said to Dan, I never thought of retiring. Like, it's never been in
Me neither.
like, I always think like, okay, well, I'm going to finish this era of my life and begin something new, or I'm going to like, why, and we live in a society that says you get this age, you have to do this. And I see a lot of my friends they're looking for retirement. They're looking for that magical time when they don't do anything else. But I feel like when you get there, you feel lost because you feel like you've lost your usefulness, your purpose.
Well, and also they have you planning all these ways for retirement, but not what are you going to do? And when I was researching as building up the whole mission and why and all the parts and pieces for Don't Be Caged by Your Age podcast, I learned in my research that the World Health Organization actually declared retirement an epidemic costing societies billions of dollars. That's American society, UK, parts of Europe, Canada, Australia.
Wow.
Because people would get home. And I just interviewed a woman the other day, the grandmapreneur. That's a whole wonderful story. But she and I were talking about how they would sit on the couch and immediately the health would start to decline because the mind would start to decline. You have to do new things. And this is a woman who taught for decades professional writing at the college level, who had an innovation that she came out with at the age of 68. Wow. Since then, which she got on QVC. Okay. I mean, she really pulled all the parts and pieces together for it. And then she wrote books, How to Get on QVC. Why do you want retirement? The best time to build a business, right?
Absolutely.
Launch a brand and build a business. All these things. She's 76 today. She's having a blast. And this was a side benefit I didn't know that Don't Be Caged by Your Age was going to bring to the world. And that's the 40 and 50-year-olds who are turning to me and going, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to turn 60 and 70 and 80 now. Like, I wasn't even thinking about this period of my life, and I'm even more excited and more passionate about it.
Absolutely. I think that, with every age, there is a gift, but certainly I think that we need to really redefine what it looks like for many of us. And no, we haven't seen it. And this is why it becomes scary. But we are trailing the path for somebody else. I think of my nieces. I have nieces in their 30s and their 20s and a preteen. And I think I don't want them to feel like I am not enough because I've hit a certain milestone. I want them to always feel that there's possibilities for them.
Well, and you're providing that representation already, Julie. There's this wonderful woman. I think her name is Ruby. She's 95. I shared a reel of her on the Instagram feed and the TikTok feed for Don't Be Caged by Your Age. She's a substitute teacher.
Nice.
Loves going in, loves being the substitute teacher. But what she's doing, she doesn't even know that she's doing, is she's programming, indoctrinating those young kids, it's elementary school brain, to see that she's thriving at that age so they can thrive. And this is the biggest purpose behind Don't Be Caged by Your Age. Yes, there's societal ageism and there's institutional ageism, but I'm focusing on internalized ageism. Those pieces of conversation and limitations that have been indoctrinated in us over the decades that we don't even know are there.
Yeah.
Limitations that are stopping us from pursuing new dreams and opportunities because we have our own ageist beliefs and biases keeping us and preventing us from moving forward in a wonderful, connected, visible way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the work that you're doing is certainly trailblazing, and it's really providing an environment for individuals to be able to look at what society has put out for us and kind of say, is that really true? Because sometimes the things that we believe are not true. We can question the status quo, and I think that it's powerful to be able to do that.
I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
questioning
No,
the status quo.
we
And
have to. We have to.
we absolutely have to. And I do focus a little more on gendered ageism because
Mhm.
honestly, after decades of sexism in the workplace, to get hit with gendered ageism is like, oh, come on. But
That's true.
I still, and I giggle a little because this is the first time I'm seeing white men experience discrimination. What do you mean I can't get that job? Yeah.
That's
I'm like, oh,
right.
please, welcome to the
Welcome to what we've been
playground.
dealing with our whole lives, right?
But
I'd like to be someone who is hopeful and someone who is always looking at the brighter side. However, the humanity in me tends to, of course, have that negative bias. I have been cautiously optimistic about our future in this country. But at the same time, I know for myself that I was a lot of questioning and disappointment when in 2016.
yeah,
I was in New York City when
yeah,
we found out that Hillary did not win the election. Now,
so
we
tough.
don't know, and I'm not sure when I'm letting this out into the world, but what makes you hopeful about our future, regardless of who is in control of our country?
Optimism. People really gravitate as much as the brain
Mhm.
loves to be tickled by anger and divisiveness
Mhm.
and yelling and all of that. We get exhausted by it after
Yeah.
a certain period of time. And we want to work together. We want to be
Mhm.
united. We want community. We don't want to be pointing fingers and
Yeah.
saying names and feeling. And here's the honest truth: fascism never sleeps. It's always there,
Mm.
but it never wins. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have to go through these really difficult times in order to have the folks bubble up that become
Mhm.
incredible leaders for us
Yeah.
and pull us together and unite us. And, the United States has been an experiment for almost 250 years.
Right.
And so we're the only country that has this level of diversity, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of bad things have happened. We have a lot of tough history we have to continue to reconcile and
Mhm.
repair.
Yeah.
But
And we do
to
it
see,
together, and we do it by talking
right.
about these things.
And I could not be happier than seeing an empowered woman of
Mhm.
color standing up in front of the world who has all the right ingredients
Mhm.
and tonality and joy and laughter and yet that delicious prosecuting nature,
That's right.
which we all need, and because justice does matter, and all combined. And I think, wow, when you look back at the ingredients that come together in world leaders over the years, here's one
Mhm.
right here. And
Yeah.
I do believe we're going to turn the corner because this experiment is working, and we
Mhm.
do love each other for our humanness,
Mhm.
for our humanity. And it really has to stop being based on your gender, on your race,
Yeah.
on your sex, all the things, and your religion. It has to be, are you a good person
Mhm.
and are you contributing?
Yeah. I agree. One of the things my dad once said to me is the good guys with the white hats will win. There's always good guys around. And
We're
just
the
like
helpers, like
we're the
Mr.
helpers, right?
Rogers. Yeah.
That like Mr. Rogers said. And I think that when we get discouraged, what is going on, it's important to
Right.
then curate the communities, because you're going to need the encouragement from people
Right.
like you. And then you go out into the world and you are kind of like what the Bible says, you're the salt of the world. Go and season the world. But
That's
it's
right.
important as well to be in a place in which you're being encouraged. And no matter, whether we're talking about state of affairs or the state of our minds and what we're doing in a world that is dictating something that may bring us down.
That's right. And optimism always wins. Joy-filled
Mhm.
warriors. Just listen to Churchill's speech
Yeah.
when they were getting slammed by bombs every day, day after day. He
Mhm.
helped them
Yeah.
tap into their joy as a community. And
Mhm.
this is what we're doing now, and we can
That's
see
right.
it. from all spectrums and walks of life coming together. But we are terribly nervous because we understand the severity of fascism and we understand how it can get its prongs into people and where they start looking at others as being bad. And frankly, it's had the reverse effect on me because I do not amplify fascist voices. And I won't on my podcast. I make it clear with the New England Podcasters Group, this is welcoming. If you've got a problem with that, we'd rather you move right along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That has been the hardest decision for me. Dan is always, I'm the passionate, not that he's not passionate about things, but I'm the one who can let emotions go. And I have said, listen, I want inclusive voices and I am not going to not speak on topics that are important to me. And he's a little more cautious. He's a little more cautious for my brand.
Well, when I was interviewing for the Startup Life Live show, diverse founders, I said, look, white guys, only 2% or less of women and people of color get funded by venture capital. So you just keep moving along.
Yeah.
I want to talk to the people who had to figure it out without all the benefits of being a white male in the tech and innovative space.
I think that a lot of people don't talk a lot about that. I think that, in seeing entrepreneurs and seeing women entrepreneurs, only 12% of women entrepreneurs are making over $100,000 a year. And that is a number that people don't realize. And by the way, if that's what you're bringing home and you have expenses for the business, you're not even making that.
No,
but we don't talk about that. And I think that the more that we talk about it, the more that we can find solutions to empower each other to, okay, well, how can I make a business that makes more money than less than $40,000? Because that's where most women entrepreneurs are.
And I earned my MBA at an all-women's MBA program over 30 years ago in 1989. And we talked about this all the time, which is that when Emily's List was coming out around that time, women were like, well, let me bake some cookies to raise money. Men would look at, well, Joe gave 5,000, 20,000, 30,000. I have to beat that. Women in the organization would look and say, who's doing this the best? I have to do it better than them.
Yeah.
Men, their filter was, who's doing it the worst? I have to do better than just,
oh my gosh,
it was just, there's, we're still figuring it out. And I remind women all the time that honestly, we've only had the vote for a minute. We've only been able to secure a mortgage with our name for a minute since 1974. We've only been able to get a credit card in our name without a man signing for it since 1974. So it is taken a minute or two for us to get to the other side and understand the big numbers of money and how to play in that field and not feel accountable and responsible. It's like a VC firm, venture capital firm is raising a fund. They have investors that are putting in big money. They're managing that fund with the hope that one or two of their portfolio will hit it out of the park and give a return to everyone. Okay. They're very comfortable with the fact that things are not going to work out and you're going to lose your money.
Yeah.
So when women get on the other side of this, I don't want to lose my money part and understand it's just part of the flow of energy, then it's going to get even easier for them to command salaries, command dollar amounts for speaking, as well as build a global business, build a business that garners not only an equity portion of their wealth, but also a monthly portion of their wealth. So it's, but it's going to take a minute.
It's going to take a minute, but it takes doing the work and it's so worth it. When we are discouraged, it's important to, again, surround ourselves with the people who maybe know
and Julie,
the work.
Think about representation, okay?
That's right.
If you see it, you can be it. So
that's right.
I grew up in a economic class, where the woman didn't work because the message I got from my mother, college educated at Skidmore, by the way, class of 1946, was those jobs need to go to the man. Women cannot be taking jobs away from men. And her whole role was volunteering. I have had to work my whole life around that. And that representation. My husband's mother worked in the factory her entire life. Wow. Never even graduated high school. That's a representation many families saw growing up, was the woman factory nurse, secretary, teacher. Yeah. Nobody was seeing captains of industry in the female role. And if they were, she was a bitch. Okay. She was not a person you'd want, there was all this denigration of her. So we will continue. Follow the founder of Uncle Nearest. Fawn Weaver is her name. Go read about it. Go Google it. This is your role model, everybody, for a woman in business.
I love that. I think, every time that I come across a powerful woman, I think, oh, we need to amplify this because there's someone who is not aware of this, a person that is not aware of what they've been able to accomplish. Legacy is big for me.
Yeah.
And I know that you're creating your own legacy. What is your why for creating legacy?
Wow. My why for creating legacy, it all goes down to representation. There's a lot of different dynamics in, my family of origin, which I left in 2015. And for me, it is the ability to welcome all walks of life, to enhance the light in others, to help them feel seen. That's my legacy, is so that I look at someone and say, I see you. You have all this, you have all this decoration around you, but I see you in there and I know your potential and I know your value and I know your worthiness. And it has nothing to do with what you make, money, your financial status, your economic status, nothing. It has to do with you are a valuable human being because you decide so. And I'm just going to say right now, I'm deciding that you're valuable. And whatever I can do to enhance somebody, that's what my legacy looks like. I see you because I grew up invisible and tolerated by my family of origin. And it has been, I'm the, that scene from The Town when Ben Affleck walks into the room. Hey, I'm going to do this or blah, blah, blah. I'm going to hurt somebody, but we can't, and you're never going to be able to talk about it. And then the response from the other character was, whose car are we going to take? That's why allyship is so important to me, but also I'm an accomplice. I'm going to be the one who will ride with you as you.
I'll ride with you.
Yeah.
And I think that, thank you for sharing a little bit of what you're looking to do with your legacy. And I see you giving the platform to so many incredible individuals. When I look at the list of everybody that's been on the Don't Be Caged by Your Age podcast and the work that you're doing there, I am in awe. How do you come across some of these incredible individuals?
Thank you for that. This is my 6th podcast. So anytime I look for someone to interview, I go, whose voice do I want to amplify? How are they serving the world? And how can I help them serve the world better? And, ideally they're going to be lively enough. I do like to screen for that. Just like you would a speaker for an event. I want someone that my listeners will enjoy listening to. And I begin there and, I just reach out and ask, would you be willing to take time out of your day to share your story with my listeners, to help add wind to their sails, to help, whatever the topic was. So now it's to help them dissolve those internalized ageist beliefs that are preventing them from pursuing new dreams and opportunities after the age of 65. And I get a lot of yeses.
You get a lot of yeses. And I think that this is a great lesson. Sometimes you're not going to get a yes unless you ask. And sometimes we stay on the sidelines. And that applies to building a business as well and putting your name out there. Don't be afraid to get a no, because maybe it's not a right now. It's maybe later. And those are the things that can help you.
And Julie, when you age too, your community tends to disappear, right? All of a sudden, the folks that you might have worked with are no longer there.
Yeah.
Things can get really small. And so I encourage a couple of things for people to hop on meetup.com to find some things going on.
That's right.
But if you can't find a community you want to join, create one. And that's really why I created the New England Podcasters Group. Nobody's
love that.
more fun than hanging out with podcast hosts. But also I had to deal with my own fear, which is what if you have a party and no one comes, right?
That's right.
And so I'm always surprised at who shows up. I'm like, oh my God, they're showing up.
Absolutely. I host a Christmas Eve party, and I've been hosting it since it's an open house. Anybody can come. If you don't have somewhere to go or you want to come by for a couple hours, an hour, whatever, come by.
Oh, Julie, that's so wonderful.
But it's been fun to
what
just
time does
set
it start?
the table. It starts at 4
I'll
p.m.
be there.
Anytime, until midnight. And it's fun to see, you set the table, you tell people, hey, come to the table. And if you want, great. If not, you'll have leftovers, which has happened, right? But it's been really fun to create an opportunity for people to show up. And I know that that's a little bit of what you and I do in our podcast. We're sharing a message. We're driven by our intent to put better stuff out into the world.
Right.
And to help others. I know that not everybody is going to get to meet the wonderful Ande Lyons in person, but I'm hoping that through these conversations, they will walk away with that inspiration, right?
Yes.
And the same thing, I think, is what you're doing now. Out of all the guests that you've had, and again, you've been doing this, you've been podcasting for a long time, but your show started back up in March?
In March. Yep. Yeah. 34 episodes in now.
I know that everybody is phenomenal and memorable, but if you had to pick your top 3, who would they be and who we should go listen to?
Oh, thank you for asking that. It's kind of like, all right, I have to refresh my browser.
Yeah.
But I've interviewed so many fascinating people. Most recently, episode 34 was with Raymond A. Jetson, and we were talking about aging while Black.
Oh,
which is just such a fascinating
fascinating.
Topic.
Yeah.
But he introduced me to the word reciprocal wisdom. And that is sharing that goes both ways. It's wisdom that is rooted in our past, but there's also wisdom and ingenuity that lives within the current generation and bringing that together and how it, and then the unique challenge of aging while Black, how to help that Black community have a better experience. Another really fun conversation was with Jeanette Liardi, who wrote the book Aging Sideways. We dove deep.
That's right. Is that the book in the background?
Yes. Yeah. And so she brought all the great information of why our brains are great, why we are great at this time in our lives, and to see ourselves as a complete human. And that was just so much fun. And then, talking, oh gosh, I just love so many of them. I'm scrolling through them all right now because it's so much fun to recall. But another important conversation, and now a fellow podcast, she just launched her podcast, was with Deborah Greenhut. And it's just so important because a lot of times we get caught in this sort of sandwich generation. You're taking care of your kids, but you're taking care of an ill parent, and it was really one of the first folks I've talked to who is all about how to protect your quality of life while caregiving. And to me, that was so important and enriching, and how to plan for that, because there are so many free services, but you are often caught like a deer in the headlights when you become a caregiver, because it's usually a sudden situation and there is no planning, and you're dealing with all the human emotions as someone might be faced with a horrible life-threatening illness or dementia or all the things. And what happens often is that the caregiver ends up dying before the person because they are so, it's an honor. They deeply want to do it, but they don't know how to set those boundaries up. And so while there's so many fun conversations like Julie, who was a private eye, to the woman who's 72 in the Bronx, who gets out every day and helps everybody lift a weight and stay healthy. She's amazing too. Sarah Hart, who is empowering women to thrive in their prime and really sees this as a second women's movement. So
yeah,
I could go on.
It's like choosing. I've been asked this question, and I typically tell people is like, how do you choose a favorite out of all? I mean, every conversation is powerful, and individuals have such incredible lives. We all have, and when we talk about it, we can see, even if the listeners right now are thinking, well, not me, I'm going to challenge you on that. You've lived experiences that Andy and I haven't had.
Right.
And there are things that you could teach us, and we could be in awe, even when we don't think there is. There always is. The human experience is personal, but that's what makes us humans, is by sharing the experiences. It's fascinating for sure. I'm going to go check out Deborah's episode. I don't think I've listened to that episode. And being in that caretaking, I call myself the half sandwich, which Dan thinks is amusing, but it is a half sandwich. I don't have kids, but I am taking care of my mom. Yeah. And I know that for me, that's one of the things that I want to really prioritize is
it's so important.
Julie. And I think that I'm going to show up better for Dan, for my mom, for my listeners, for my clients, for my nieces and nephews. But it's important to be able to
and especially as a woman, we tend to feel like we're being selfish.
Oh, absolutely.
So her book, The Rational Caregiver, Protect Your Health, Finances, and Quality of Life While Caring for a Family Member by Deborah Greenhut. Highly recommend it. I think it's behind me on my shelf as well.
Well, I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it in the show notes, and I have Deborah's website up as well. So this is something that I could do forever.
Everyone.
I know, right? Oh my gosh! See, age is just a number, people. Age is just a number.
Well, I do want to say it's a number, but it's also a number we need to respect. We need to say there's value in there. And I'm just going to say something I love to share with folks, if you don't mind, Julie, which is this whole pro-aging is about celebrating the journey of growing older, recognizing the wisdom, resilience, and richness that come with the experience we were just talking about from the lived experience. And so I want people, instead of fearing or resisting age, I want to encourage you to shatter societal expectations and embrace your delicious, authentic self and thrive in this stage of life. Rewrite the narrative. Aging is not something to be dreaded, but it's a powerful, beautiful process to be honored and lived fully. As Cyndi Lauper says, it ain't over till it's over.
Till it's over. I love it. I love it. Who's your dream guest?
Wow. Who is my dream guest? Well, I wouldn't mind having Cyndi Lauper on the show. I just saw her 71 rocking, Yeah. I would like to see someone who is on the stage, who's willing to be out there with all their wrinkles, not performing at their prime, but still delighting audiences and empowering audiences.
Yeah.
So thank you for asking that question. It would be someone in that age group, maybe Stevie Nicks, or Nancy Wilson.
Ooh.
Or was it Ann Wilson? Either one, Nancy or Ann, the guitar player or the singer. How are they navigating that? So
nice.
That's such a good question. I need to come up with a better answer and give that some more thought. I'm still in let's get that first year under our belt. Let's get that logo redone. Let's get the
Well, I have to tell you, I have so many dream guests, but I love the idea of Cyndi Lauper. I just saw Cher be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that was really fun. I know, right? I kept thinking that. I'm like, why did it take so long? Why is it that we wait this long for people?
It's tough. And the person who has really aged out loud as well, of course, Dolly Parton, I'd give like my eye teeth to do that, because she's all about nipping and tucking and doing all the things, but also Jane Fonda, who, carries the burden of her earlier years with her till her grave, but has done so much for the world. And
absolutely,
when you see her in Grace and Frankie and Grace, and she takes off all the hair and the this and that, and she strips down and
It's very fun. I enjoy it. I think that we are aging in the best period with so many different opportunities for us to continue to forge the road for ourselves and to go confidently. Andy, it's always a pleasure to have you, to talk to you, to just bask in your, greatness, because I love that. Surround yourself with incredible individuals, my friends. If you don't have an Andy or you want to meet Andy, I encourage you to connect with her online. Find her, send her a message and tell her what you loved about this interview. Check out her podcast. And I know that she is a giver and she is always willing to share or to talk to someone. So this is one of these people that we need to kind of have in our realm. Anything that I didn't ask you, maybe that we should talk about?
No, you asked me everything. I feel like we've uncovered everything.
Stuff, yeah.
And I just ask folks to see those older adults in your life as being valuable, interesting, treat them with respect. Don't infantilize them and go, oh, honey, and use that sweet voice as if they were 3. And those who are in this prime of life, the Renaissance years, we're calling the ages 55 to 80.
Nice.
Stand tall and proud in your age. Look folks in the eye and help them step up to honoring you at this age and stage in your life.
Well, beautifully said. Well, thank you so much, Andy, for being here. And if you are a podcaster in New England, you must join us at the New England Podcasters Group. And if you are not in New England, find a podcasting group in your area or find the community that builds you up. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Andy, for being here. You're going to have to come back. We didn't talk enough. But until next time, my friends, don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Thanks for listening to Casa de Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business, push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the 6-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.